Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 of this series of videos that I'm putting together for you. I'm showing you how to fit certain surface mount devices. On the left hand side I've got a 44 pin IC, so I'll run you through that and give you a few tips. And then you can see sort of 3 little orange MELF diodes right at the front of these, and just behind them I've got sort of 3 5-pin little SOT devices, which are a really common package. So I'll sort of show you how to do them. And just behind them I've got 2 little surface mount connectors. There'll be a few little hints, sort of how do's and don'ts on sort of fitting them. And then right at the back I've got 2 electrolytic capacitors. I've made a little extra video I'll put right at the end on showing you how to get them off the boards if you're really struggling, because they can be hard to get off sometimes. And then right on the right hand side I've got a really large inductor where I have to use a different sort of tip on my iron, and yeah, I'll run you through that as well. So hopefully you'll find something useful throughout, and yeah, I've got photos and stuff right throughout of the end results. So it's all pretty clear. So anyway, we'll get on with the first devices. They're going to be the little 5-pin SOT devices. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. The first components are in these short videos. These are literally 5-pin buffer devices. They're a very common package for surface mount soldering. You've got 3 pins on the side, you can see. You've got 2 on each device around the back of the device. So yeah, what you're going to do, as I always do, just run a little bead of flux around front joints, and then what I do then, the main thing with a lot of surface mount soldering is tacking the component in position to give you a good base. So what I do, just tack the bottom right hand corner. One thing with this component will sort of show you is you really do need a nice fine pair of tweezers so you can get in between each device, and also when you're doing 0201s and 0402s in the future, resistors and capacitors, etc. Yeah, small tweezers are a godsend, especially when they're so close together to each other. So yeah, basically good pair of nice tweezers and some flux, and that's what you really need to do these. And we do feed them in one by one. I like to always see the outline of the device's leg if I can, the pin. It's not a problem if you can't, but say that's what I like to. That's what I sort of aim for. It's not always possible, but. And so yeah, I've got nice sort of 9, I just add a little bit up there, I've got 9 nice joints around the front. And so yeah, what I do, I'll spin it around and move around to the back, and we do the same on them. Just get it into focus for you. So yeah, again, put a little bit of flux along the front, along all the pins. I apply this with basically a dip tie wrap. I dip the tie wrap in the flux I use and just run it along. And in the description for this video I've actually put the flux I use, so I do get a lot of people asking me the one I like. So yeah, there's a description in there of the type I use. So again, just feed it and feed it, keep going along, feeding it all the time, and yeah, you've got all your joints all soldered up nicely. As you can see the outline, the pin sort of down this corner, and that's what you're really looking for. So you haven't got too much on there. It's the same on the other side. So yeah, what I do, I'll clean all these up after and put some photos up. And then what I'll do, I'll move on to the next component now, which is going to be some electrolytic capacitors. Right, so we come on now to how I basically fit my electrolytic capacitors. Basically, I've already pushed them into position. So basically, I've got my polarity right. So I've got the chamfer on the plastic sort of round that end, and you see, as you can see, you've got the chamfer on the silk screen there. So basically, what I do, same as always, add a little sort of bead of flux just on each joint. What I do the back joints as well, and I'll turn them around so you can sort of see the finished article. Yeah, so you'll be able to see it all. So what I do, just tack them in position. Like I say, they're already sort of correct sort of polarity. So yeah, just tack them in position. All you need is a slight bit. What I do then, I will turn it round so you can sort of see how I'm sort of soldering them up. So yeah, just turn them round, and you'll be able to sort of see what I'm doing there. Just get, hopefully you can sort of see down the side of that connector. I'll try and get it down there. What I'll do, I'll sort of refocus it for the other joint. When you do these, basically I sort of count to 5 in my head, so the sort of solder flows down the side, and you know it's going sort of underneath as well then. So you've got a nice sort of fillet along the top. I'll do that one there, so hopefully you can see that. Yeah, if you can count to sort of 5 in your head, you know it's sort of running underneath. Obviously I've got to sort of be careful I don't hit that plastic connector. I've got to get a nice sort of fillet underneath there. And what I do then, I can revisit the first end. Just get that in focus. And what I do, just add a little bit of fresh flux on them. No matter what the size of electrolytic capacitors, there's many different sizes. I always do them the sort of same way. So I literally count to 5 in my head and feed the solder in for sort of that amount of time. Then you know it's sort of running underneath, you've got a nice joint. So same with that one. So what you want to see is the outline of the leg, that's sort of an ideal joint, and you know it's gone underneath. Just sort of blow it up a little bit so you can sort of see what you're looking for. Yeah, so you've got a nice sort of fillet, sort of run right round the sides, around the front, same on that one, and that's what you're looking for. So you can sort of still see the outline of the leg, sort of right at the front. You can sort of see the little outline there, which is good. So yeah, you know you've got a good connection. It's the same around the back. Just try and focus them in. So you've got a nice joint there, a nice joint there. You've got no sort of damage on the plastic, and that's what you're looking for in your electrolytic capacitors. So yeah, no matter what the size, do them all the same way, and yeah, you won't go far wrong. And right at the end of all these videos, I'm going to show you a really useful hint and tip for getting these off the boards if you're really struggling. So yeah, if you stick with it, right at the end of the videos I'll show you this great tip for getting these off. So what we do now, we'll move on to the next component, and I'll show you how to do that one. Right, so we come on now to basically, I'm going to show you how to fit these two surface mount connectors. You've got J1 up here and then J4 down here. Yeah, literally I'm going to show you a range of connectors over these sort of video postings that I'm doing, but this is one of the sort of more easier ones. But yeah, I'd just like to show you a variation. So as per usual, what you want to do, just get a little bit of bead of flux, just run it around the joints, right around all the joints. And what I do, I fit J1 first. I'll get that into focus in the centre. So yeah, what we can do, I normally sort of tack the fixing pads at the end on these, but just for the video, for this sake and the angles, I'm going to tack one of the pins. But yeah, you've got to do this really quick, because obviously you've got a metal pin going into the plastic body, which yeah, I always bang on about. Yeah, so just hold it central. Just tack that bottom pin for that one. And what I do on this, I'll just go around the rest of these joints, and I'll do the fixing pads after. Now this is normally the opposite way. I normally do the fixing pads first. Like I say, just for the angle of this, I'm going to do them at the end. You do, put your tip on there. You don't want to be too long, so like I say, you've got your metal pin going into your plastic body. You don't want nothing moving inside. So what you do is feed it in one by one. So you've got a nice joint all of them. Try and get that fixing pad at the end. So what I do here, I keep my iron slightly away from the pin of the connector and let the solder run in. It takes about 3 or 4 seconds, but don't be too long. Just flip that one round. Do the same on this end. Yeah, just keep it slightly away and just run it around so it goes under. You see it going nicely under. So that's that one done. So you've got, yeah, J1's all nicely soldered up, as you can see. No melting of the plastic. So what I do now, I'll go on to J4 and let's get that soldered up. Same again, just place it in position, just get it central. And again, I'll tack one of the pins on this, which, like I said earlier, this is the opposite way to what I normally do. I'm just trying to make it easier for you to sort of follow it. You get that tacked in central, and again I'll run around all these joints. Again, you've got to be fairly quick. As you can see, I've got a really small tip for this, which is basically it's a small conical tip, and I sort of file them down when I get them from new. Yeah, and this one's taking a little bit long, that's it. So I get them to a nice sort of shape that aids me to do what I need to do. So again, I've got 5 nice joints on them. So what I do, I do this fixing pad at the end. So again, keep your iron slightly away from the pin of the connector, just feed it in. You'll see it going underneath. That's that one. And go up to the other end. I'll try and get in there. It's going to be hard to film this. Let's try and get in there. Again, just put my iron, lay my iron in there without hitting the plastic. A bit of a, so I normally have to change some of the angles for the filming, so sometimes I don't do it exactly like this. And that's got a nice sort of bead of solder in there. So what I do, I just blow this up slightly so you can see some of the joints a little bit easier. Let's get that in focus. So as you can see, got sort of five nice joints with no melting of the plastic. Same around the end. Same on them ones. And yeah, you've got the fixing pads all soldered up. So that's the way I do my surface mount connectors. So basically, main tip, be nice and quick. And get them central, tack them on, be nice and quick. And yeah, and you should be alright. So what I do, I'll clean these up after and stick some photos up at the end. And what we do, we move on to the next video. Right, so we come on to the final video in the first half of these particular videos. This one basically is a rather large inductor. It's literally 2 centimeters sort of across each side. So yeah, following on from the sort of last connectors in the sort of last video, this is basically the joints are way bigger in this one. So you're going to need basically a different tip. So I've actually fitted a very large sort of flat-sided tip, and so all I do is very similar. A lot of parts when you're soldering, I've got a standard procedure, and yeah. So what I do, just put a little sort of bead there just to tack it, and then what I'll do then, I'll turn it right round and do the other end properly. So what we do that end properly. So same again, a little bit of flux. Yeah, even though soldering's got so many different components, there is, yeah, a lot of them are sort of done the same way. So it's quite daunting when you first start, but actually when you get into it, you'll sort of find there is a sort of set procedure for most of them. What I can do, I can just run a bead under there. You're going to need quite a lot of solder on these. You won't be able to do this with a small sort of conical tip like I used in the last video. So what I do, get a bit on each, and then I run the iron right along the lot. Now I can just run it along. I'll get a nice joint up all the. I'm doing this with lead free, so the joints will be a little bit duller than normal. So you get a nice bead right along both joints. So now I'll go back to the first end. I can do that properly now. Just get a little bit of fresh flux. So yeah, what you will need is a few different tips for your iron. In the end, you'll get to learn sort of what ones you need. So yeah, it's literally, it's not too bad. Just what you do is feed a little bit of solder in as you go. So you're getting some right underneath the body of the component as well. So you're getting a nice good joint. So these do take a little bit longer, these ones, because obviously the joints are very large. Just feed a little bit more into that one. As you can see, I've got a nice sort of bead up all the joints. A little bit more there, and that should do it. So there you go, I've got a nice sort of fillet. It's very similar to all the, even like the 402s, you still get that curved joint top to bottom. So you've got a nice joint there, right around the end. So I'll go back to the first end, show you that again. So as you can see, your nice curved joint. And that's what you're looking for, a nice curved joint top to bottom. And yeah, so any large components basically use a larger tip. It's the same procedure as even like 201s, 402s. And yeah, that's how I've basically fitted this large inductor. So what we do now is put some photos up of the first few videos, and then we move on to the second half. So come on to the first video in the second half of these short videos. So what I'm going to do in this one, I'm going to fit 3 MELF diodes to D1, D3 and D4. And yeah, I'll show you how I do them. MELF stands for metal electrode leadless face. And basically MELFs generally come in diode and resistor packages. So what I do first, as always, just add my flux. Because yeah, like I always said, the flux just aids the soldering so much. So what I've done, I've added flux to all 6 pads. So what I do, I lift the diodes into position. I've made sure the polarity band's in the right end. So you've got basically the sort of thick white line down there. The polarity band sort of down this end as well. So it's all lifted into position. So what I do, as always, I just literally put a little bit of solder up one end. Again, I don't pre-blob the pads like you might see in some other videos, but yeah, if that's people's preference, that's fine. But this, like I say, I've always said, this is the way I like to do it. So what you do, get them central to the pads. So what I do, get all them central. It's all nicely central, tacked on. So what I do, I sort of turn this round sort of in a minute, and you basically see the other end. So I'll make, you know, sort of show you the soldering joints. You're not looking for too much solder on these. Literally, you want to get down the bottom so it goes up the face sort of very slightly. Right, now I can do the front. I'll turn this round in a minute so you can see the back joints. So you don't want too much, just so it runs under the sort of body, the pad at the end, and sort of underneath the body. So as you can see, I'll go around the back and show you these joints. I'll clean it all up at the end, and like I say, I always put photos up. So yes, what you're looking for, you're looking for a nice curved joint, sort of top to bottom. They're all the same, as you can see. I'll try and get the focus into them. So that's all you're looking for, a nice curved joint. You don't want too much solder on them. So what I'll do, I'll clean all these up and add the photos at the end. And that's what you're sort of basically looking for. So yeah, like I say, don't put too much on these. You get a little bit of time to do these, you don't have to be too quick. So that's what you're looking for your MELFs. So what I'll do now, I'll move on to quite a large fine pitch IC, and I'll show you how to do that. Right, so we'll come on to the final video. This is where I'm just going to fit a 44 pin, quite a large IC. It's fairly fine pitch, but it's not, you know, not the worst sort of fine pitch one. So what I do, as per usual, put the flux down both sides, and then what I can do then, place the IC. I've got pin 1 with the sort of silk screen spot there, so that denotes pin 1. It's basically, always check your polarities, because you know, I've done it wrong myself, and I've seen quite a few over the years do it wrong. So what you want to do, so it's in position. So what I do generally is tack one pin on either side of the device. Doesn't matter what one. I never start with the top one, because that's obviously the first one I'm going to solder. So for instance, you could do that one there. Doesn't really matter. So get it nice and straight. You can tack basically any one around the back. Yeah, so just tack that one there. So that's now in position, and then you can just go along the line then. So as you can see, I've tacked one pin, so I can go along the line, just get into focus slightly more. So what I can do, just feed a little bit onto my iron, away you can go, starting from the pin at the top. Yeah, again, I'm not going to drag solder, because so I'm not a big fan. So literally, you just want a little bit on each leg, not too much. Always say, if you get these sort of a nice amount, this sort of will enable you to do the smaller ones later in your life. So yeah, it's a good thing to get them right. So I don't tend to get any shorts doing it this way. This, like I said, this isn't the sort of finest pitch IC. It's sort of a mid-range one, this. So yeah, it's not too bad. As you can see, I've got no shorts all the way down. So it doesn't take long to do the first 22. I'll just sort of show you them. I'll just sort of clean them up in a minute, and yeah, I'll get a better focus on them. So what I do, turn the board round. I'll show you how to do the other side. So again, what I do, I put a little bit of fresh flux on. So what you're going to do, yeah, not too much. Just run a sort of bead of flux along the row, and away you can go on this side. So some people like to drag solder these, but say I'm not a big fan. I think this is sort of quite a good method, and it's always worked for me. But like, everyone's got their own preference, so you know, just sort of choose what you like. So again, a little bit, so it just goes sort of round the sides, round to the hill, a little bit up the front. Just keep feeding it one at a time, right to the end. Quite a lot of people have sort of asked what flux I use for my jobs, and what I do, I put in the description the sort of type I use. So if you like what you see, you can sort of maybe order some. So as you can see, you've got a nice sort of bead, sort of going sort of right down the side. Yeah, you've got a nice sort of bead of solder. It sort of goes right down the side. I'll blow it up and take some photos. And you've got a little bit going around the front. And that is basically how you do. And what I'll do, I'll give it a quick clean so you can sort of get a better view of it really. I'll just give it a sort of little scrub with a bit of cleaning fluid. Also the cloths I use, quite a lot of people ask me about them, so I'll also put where I get them from, just in case you sort of need some. But yeah, this is sort of the way I do most of my IC, even the fine pitch ones. I sort of all do generally the same way, just tack it in sort of place on one side, and and then sort of do one round the back. And as you can see, you've got a nice joint on every leg, every pin, and yeah, that's what you're looking for. So you can still see the sort of front of the pin, which is quite, I find it important. That means you can do sort of the smaller ones as you sort of get more experience. It's got a little hair there, it's not a short. So that's basically how I do my my ICs. So what I do, that sort of completes all these videos. So what I do, I put photos up after, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed everything you've seen. And if you did, please like and subscribe. And as I always say, I'll see you again soon, and thank you for watching. Right, so as I promised from earlier in the videos when I fitted the electrolytic capacitors, this is basically a good method to get them off the boards if you're really struggling. Sometimes when you get the large ones of these and they've got a sort of a ground plane on the sort of pads underneath, they are difficult to get off. I sort of normally do 2 soldering irons, one at each end, and sort of lift them off. But sometimes that just does not work because of the sort of the heat needed, because of the ground planes underneath. So this is actually a really good way. You can actually hold the pads or hold the pins down on the pads with pliers if you need. But all you do, literally, all you got to do is put a tool on the top and just twist them. And that will break the connections. And the pads are generally good to go from this. So I'll do the same with the other one. Just gently twist them. You can just remove the plastic. Just flick the plastic out of the way. As you can see, you've got no damage at all. Sort of both sets of pads are fine. You've still got the sort of pins there. You can just take them off after with a soldering iron. I'll just focus into the other ones. So you can see you've got 4 good pads, no damage at all to them. So literally that's a good way, just twist them off. Like I say, sometimes you can hold these down, sort of put a pair of pliers across the pins if you're really worried, and then twist them. Like I say, it's a really good method. So yeah, just a little added tip if you're really struggling to get them off. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching all the videos, and like I said earlier, I'll put a few more up shortly. And yeah, thanks a lot, it's much appreciated, and I'll see you all soon.